Is it too late to get into the watch game? That's a question that I've been asked a lot lately. Well, really the last 6 months. Doesn't matter whether it's an email, a phone call, or maybe even a personal friend of mine that has been always wanting to buy that first Rolex and get into the game. So the question is it too late to get into the watch game? I would say maybe, or maybe not. So it really depends, what is it that you are trying to do? Whether you're just a collector and you're trying to get in the game and buy some pieces and own some and start establishing a nice collection, or it also depends if you're trying to get into the watch game as a business, if you want to penetrate the market and become a dealer yourself. But let's start off first with the collectors, although this topic can apply to both. I mean, if you're trying to buy a Nautilus at retail, I would kind of think it's almost too late for that. Yes, you can still probably put your name down, work a relationship. I'm not saying that those things don't happen every single day. Somehow these watches are getting out there and we're able to buy them in the gray market even though they're new or unworn or whatever you want to label it. So that will probably never end. However, there was a time where any of us, even me myself, would be able to walk into a Patek 80 and buy a Nautilus. There was a time they were almost giving them away. Nobody wanted them. They were still just giving them to you. You could walk in, buy it, walk right out of the store. Obviously, those times have completely changed. At that time, $40,000 for a Nautilus seemed like a ton of money. And look where we are now. So is it too late to get into the game? I mean, look, I think if you're trying to buy watches at retail and get prices that were 10 years ago, definitely we are not there anymore. I'm not sure that things will go up as high as they were in February of 2022, which for me, I think was the peak personally. But then again, at that moment, I never thought it would get there either. So they could always go back. But I had a gentleman walk into my store today and was telling me, I think I kind of missed that wave. I think I missed that opportunity to buy the watches that I wanted. And I said, yes, things are more expensive now and you're gonna have to shell out a lot more money. However, what if 5-6 years from now, you realize that maybe things were better right now than they are later? So is it too late? I never think it's too late to do anything. Whether you're trying to change your career, whether you're trying to find somebody new, whether you're trying to go on that new exotic vacation, or buy that new house, or change that car, or live that dream you've always wanted to live for, I don't think it's ever too late. I just think you need to approach things differently depending on the situation. So right now the market is a bit high, yes, it's true, especially with the new releases that came out. I mean, who knows what a Panda is gonna cost? I mean, it's nuts. We're gonna just throw that right out there. I've said it before, the prices are a bit nuts. However, the demand is there, and that's what drives the market. But there still are many different avenues that you can go and approach to get into the watch game. I mean, you don't have to have a Panda Daytona as your first watch. There's many Submariners that can be bought under $15,000, in the 10s, in the 11,000, maybe even in the $8,500 range. Of course, not the newest, not the ceramic ones, but however you're getting into the game. And quite personally, I think nowadays that maybe it might be even better to have 3 or 4 old style Submariners than maybe one new ceramic. I mean, why not? Quantity is always better. They always say that quality is better than quantity, but since you're buying a Rolex, which is quality already, it can get a little hairy there in that when you start running that scenario. But there's plenty of watches that you can buy nowadays that are not so crazy. With the market, the way it has corrected, certain pieces came down and have stayed down. For example, this 40mm day-date, where at one moment there, they were in the mid to high 50s, nowadays are about 40K. It's a big difference. You're talking about $15,000 extra that either A, you don't have to come up with, or B, you can use on something else. So yes, the market is tough, prices are high, but I don't think that changes anything if it's too late to get into the game. Because let me tell you, there was a moment there when these watches were $24,000, when the Panda was $24,000, and they had just came out in the ceramic bezel, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people said, man, I think I missed my opportunity to buy the non-ceramic Daytona, the 116520. That time they were going in the $12,000 to $13,000 range. Was it too late to get into it at that moment? It was not. I just think that nowadays we have to adapt more and go into either some, more of the sleeper models, or maybe just not go so crazy. Maybe you don't have to get into that John Mayer Daytona, or maybe you do. Because right now at the low hundreds, you never know when it now gets discontinued, and maybe 5-6 years down the line, we're kicking ourselves in the ass thinking, man, I should have bought some of them. Happens to me myself, guys, for the record. I'm not this watch genius. I'm just the guy that tries to give you the most information possible in the most honest and direct manner. I make mistakes all the time. I think, man, I should have bought one, or I should have kept this one, or why didn't I sell it at that moment, or maybe I shouldn't have sold it. It happens to me as well. We're all learning in this, and the tides are always changing. But I don't think it's the wrong time to get into the game. I think if anything right now has proven that some time has passed, the watches came down and corrected, which they were too high anyways. We all can agree on that. But yet, they kind of have maintained and gone up a little bit, which I have found very interesting. Look, anybody can get into the watch game, the collecting, or anything when the market is high. It doesn't take a genius to go in there, put your name down, grease a couple people, play the game, blah, 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 whatever, and buy watches at retail and sell them. The real challenge is now, when they've been calling everybody and people have been denying to pick up the watches. That's gonna create opportunity for new people to get on the list and perhaps open some new doors that haven't been open yet. So one thing we can never forget is that this is a hobby. A gold Rolex is a luxury item. We buy it because we like it. We buy it because we want to have it, because we work hard, because we say, when I get to this point, I'm gonna buy this. I've said it time and time before. I've collected watches as long as I've been able to afford them because I like them, and because I know that whatever I put into it, I'm gonna have a large sum of it still there. I won't have all of it, but I'll have most of it there. And I like that. There's not too many hobbies where you can do that. And that should really be the core of this watch game. Is watches are fun. I love them, I have a passion for them, and most importantly, they're decent investments, because as opposed to other hobbies that you can do in this lifetime, you don't get most of the money back. I mean, at the end of the day, when we die, we don't take the money anyways. Might as well enjoy it while you can, but it's even better if you can enjoy it in a hobby where most of the money's there. This thing that's happened the last 5-6 years where you can buy watches and they keep going up, that doesn't always happen. Now, there's still possibilities for those type of things, where if anybody had bought in the last year some of these watches that just got discontinued, they would have done very well at them, especially if you bought at the dip. But that's a whole nother thing. I feel that when you get into watches as an investment, and I'm buying them only for the sole purpose that you're gonna make money on a hobbyist side at least, I don't know, man. I just feel like you're buying watches for the wrong reason. You gotta buy them because you like them. So no, I do not think that it's too late to get into the watch game. I think that if you like something and you enjoy it and you work hard enough and you can buy it at a relatively decent price, why not? For me, I think that right now, a Panda Daytona, and I always like to use the Panda as an example because it's always like that benchmark on where the market is in prices, you know? I would say that it's a lot easier to digest one of those pieces in the 30s than when they were in the mid-50s. The mid-50s, not so much. Another one I want to mention is the AP Royal Oak, the 41 millimeter, self-winding. I mean, those watches were in the mid-70s, which to me, no way. I could not process that. Right now, where they're at, which is similar to a Panda, maybe even at the 40K range, I think those are more digestible at this moment. But no, it's never too late. I just think as long as you have the right guidance and you educate yourself, just like anything in this world, I don't see why it could be a recipe for disaster. So on to the business end of the watch game. Is it too late to get into the watch business right now? I mean, I would say that right now, it's a lot more difficult than it was before. There's a lot more circumstances that you're gonna be facing where previously they weren't around. The first thing is that we had that wave of the COVID dealers come in where everybody decided that since watches are easy to flip and are on the way up, you can't do nothing wrong. Of course you can't do nothing wrong when everything's going up. You could buy watches, not have any clients, and pretty much sell them back to the same people you bought them from and make a profit. So you'd have to be a moron to not make money during that period. So, you know, that was the COVID era dealers, you know? A lot of those guys, I would say a very large percentage of them got wiped out when the whole market did the adjustment. The only problem with today is that one, yes, there still are a lot more dealers that stayed from that era. But now we have what I would like to say the new era, which is the Mazal dealers. Now, I don't know if you follow me with this, but in the Hebrew language, there's a word that is Mazal. Mazal means good luck. And at least in the tradition that I have been around when I've been a watch dealer for about 15 years at this point, is that when you do a deal with somebody, and of course, this is usually business to business. This is not with the public. These are when two guys in the business that are known, they have a reputation and a solid footing, do a deal, and they mazal. What they're pretty much is agreeing is that this is a closed deal. This is a binding deal with this handshake or this statement, whether it's through text message or something of that nature. Mazal says the deal is closed. We cannot back out of Mazal, okay? Some people use the word Mazal. I've used for years the word called sold. It's not that complicated. But what happens is lately is everyone's popping up on social media. You've heard it everywhere. Mazal, Mazal, Mazal. I call them the Mazal dealers, where just because they talk the talk and semi-walk the walk, they think they're dealers. I mean, yeah. The only problem is, are these guys really that reputable? When they do break Mazal, or forget about Mazal, when something goes wrong in the transaction, are they gonna make it right? Ethically work like real dealers? So I would say that for somebody to get into the business right now, again, it's never too late. However, there's a bit more challenges. Who are these people that you're dealing with? Are they some of the old school guys that have a reputation and have a lot of solid footing in the business? Can pretty much back it up? Or is this one of the new school Mazal dealers that really are just riding this current wave of social media without any real backing and knowledge of the business, whether it's the form of the product or the ethics of how you conduct these deals? I mean, look, even me, I've been around for a while. A lot of times when people recommend me somebody, I don't know them. They tend to know me though, probably because I've been doing this long enough and I'm a trusted name in the business. But even me lately, I've had to do some business with a couple people that I really don't know. And at times I'm kind of like, I'm not really sure. Should I do this deal with them? And then when I hear the word Mazal, it's when I really get worried. Unless it's somebody that I know, of course, that can really respect what that word means and where it comes from. So some of the other challenges right now with this business is going to be that the profits are not the way that they used to. You know, the profits that happened in the last 2 years were just not normal. It's a once in a lifetime thing. This is a professional industry. This is not a get rich quick scam. I think if you're getting into this business with that mentality because you just want to be rich, I think you're going down the wrong path, because technically the only reason you would get into any business is to get rich. I mean, I'm pretty sure the owners of that yacht right there, mega yacht, super yacht, I don't know what we want to call it, this thing is huge. They didn't get into business to not become rich. That's why you get into any business. So those are some of the challenges that the new people getting into the business right now are gonna have, is the lack of margins at the current moment. There's also hard to navigate right now on what watch is gonna turn you a profit and which one is not. Another one is gonna be end consumers. If you get into this business, you need to have end users. If you don't have end users, I don't really know what you're doing, because nowadays I think business to business, I feel like we have enough guys. I mean, hey, there can always be more. I'm not the one to make that decision, but I'm telling you right now, it's not as easy as it was before. Before, there was a lot more trustworthy people. What happens in this business is that when there's a lot of new people, it can be a good thing. But out of those good people, some of them are not good. And it happens all the time where people just go bad. And in this business, I have a saying is that you're good until you're not. And what happens is when things start to get tight, whether it's the economy, whether it's the market, is when you start seeing the major hits happen. The people that use their good credit to defraud people or run off on the plug with the merchandise or things like that. So for somebody out there that's trying to get into this business, I would say make it a point to work some real relationships and really learn the business well and the ethics. And I think that as long as you do everything right and your name is always good, there's no reason why you can't have a good, long-lasting career. So I think it's not too late to do anything, but I will agree that on that aspect in the business, it's a lot harder right now. And just don't use the word Mazal with me. Pisses me off, especially if I don't know you. I mean, it depends. If it's in the right context, okay. Usually it's my religious dealers that I use the word Mazal with, because they're the ones that say it to me. Now all of a sudden it's just being abused, and just because you use the word Mazal makes you now a watch dealer. You need to really be a dealer, and you have to do things right, and you have to be respected. That's just my opinion though. It is what it is. So it's never too late not to become a collector, not to become a dealer, possibly maybe to become a flipper. I don't know if it's really that easy anymore to get watches from the AD. But anyways, the most important thing is just take it step by step. Don't go all in your collection and just start buying crazy stuff. If you can, why not? But if you're hesitant, just take it slow. Do a little bit of homework, start in some of the smaller pieces, let some time pass in between, see how the market reacts. And if you want to be a dealer, don't quit your day job. That's it. And definitely don't use the word Mazal in any of these categories unless you can back it up.